Hey guys, it's Harry here back again with another video. Today we're going to be talking about reclaims and some easy ways to spot reclaims that work time and time again. Now I say time and time again, they don't work time and time again. That isn't the case. That's not what we're trying to achieve. But these are easy things to spot. Hopefully it sparks some ideas for yourself. So we've got Bitcoin here. We've got February 2024. Now I've got pivots here. I think monthly pivot reclaims can be really good and they can be, a strong sign that price could continue. Now, what I would be looking for is, okay, cool, a pivot reclaim there. Now, these aren't always going to work. You're sometimes going to get a reclaim and chop, chop, chop there. But as you can see here, price went ballistic there on Bitcoin. If we go back here, a good way to actually maybe spot these reclaims is, bam, I've got the 12 and 21 EMA on the weekly. So what you could say is when this is in a weekly uptrend, I wait for a reclaim. So maybe if we go back here, you could have said to yourself, okay, cool, these things are, bullish, R1 potentially. And then another reclaim, and you have got that high time frame context from the weekly EMAs. So that's one you can do. Again, it doesn't always work. You're going to get times where, just shops about relentlessly. What I have noticed, especially on stocks, sometimes the pivot, it will close below, then it will just open above. So that's something definitely to be aware of. But, you'll get times on pivots where, look, goes, get that rid of there, goes above, comes back down. So that's something you definitely want to be considering again, but hopefully this sparks some ideas for yourself. Here we have silver. So if we go to silver, which had a lovely move last time around, got the 12.21 on the weekly. You could have waited for that cross, got in, closed below, got back in there, stop loss below, and you could have waited all the way until we get that off, till it crossed. So you got in there and it crossed there. Great trade. You would have had to just sit back and do absolutely nothing, and that's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to watch the markets, but we don't want it to be a burden on our lives, or at least some of us don't anyway. So look, reclaim there, bang. Now it's not going to work all the time, as you can see here. You could have maybe have said, okay, cool, I'm long there. But when they cross bearish, I'm out. So maybe you got out there. You could argue, though, if you got in there and held, that's good. Maybe you could go on a monthly, have some more higher time frame context. But again, weekly EMAs, you can do a 10 and a 20, whatever you want to do, just 12.21. But yeah, really good high time frame context. These, when that reclaims bang, that could be significant. We go to gold, we're going to look at a 200-day EMA reclaim. Now, one thing I would say about these is I think if you have a shorter term EMA, let's say, a 33 or a 50, I think waiting for the 200-day EMA is not something you want to do. I think the weekly EMAs work better on that. But I think the 200-day EMA does a really good job of catching the start of something. So this could be like a bang. Okay, cool, we could be in for something here. As you can see here, if you got long there and gold there, exited there, there. And you could have sit back and done absolutely nothing. That's obviously on a weekly basis. We've got the 200-day EMA. If you go on to a daily, look how long you would have been long. There, got in there, October 2023, and we would have just got out. So look, very long, over 2 years, but it works. You have to sit back and do nothing. And you can say to yourself, right, I'm out on gold, because gold could maybe go here. And you've missed all of that. So a 200-day EMA reclaim, I think, works really well at the start of something. The weekly ones I just showed, I think, work best in the middle of something. And then the pivot one could be more of a shorter term one. So hopefully that kind of puts stuff together. I also wanted to show Amazon and why I think this is really good. So if we go to Amazon, COVID. The COVID crisis happened. We go actually on a weekly, not a monthly. The COVID crisis happened in Amazon. Now, if you were just, let's say, for example, when it's easy, obviously, with hindsight, you were just using the system, EMA reclaims with, good companies you like. Okay, cool. Amazon, end of the world, COVID, bang. Stock market's nuking, Bitcoin's nuking, everything's nuking. But if you waited for that reclaim, the EMAs are still long. There's a reclaim. I'm going to go long. You would have caught quite a nice trade. I don't think they quite crossed there. you would have maybe, let's say, you go out there, would have caught that whole move, right? So these just remove bias, they remove opinions. When stuff's happening in the news, you can say, hang on a second, this company which I deem a strong company in my watch list or a strong asset that I want to be, invested in or interested in, you can just let the EMAs almost do the talking for you. So I wanted to pull up this Amazon one because I think it's a really good example of when everything's bearish, you would have done this. And there was a couple other stocks as well which did the same. I believe Apple was the same during this time as well. The EMA stayed bullish, and if you just would have got long Apple there, not catching the bottom. I don't know where the 200. Let's see, the 200-day EMA would have got you an earlier entry, which is good to see, and you would have got out maybe there. So look, again, 200-day EMA. But if you were waiting for a reclaim, would have got maybe back in there. So look, the 200-day EMA again can be a bottom, but this can definitely be a good way of catching moves. As you can see here, look, this is a good example of that. The weekly EMAs, we reclaimed them. We didn't quite close below that 200-day EMA. So I believe the 200-day EMA is your best beginner. The short-term weekly EMAs are your continuation, and your pivot point can be like a short-term almost thing. Oh, if we close above the pivot, that could be significant, and so on and so forth. But I believe that EMAs are probably the easiest one for most people to do. But I wanted to bring in the pivot anyway to show you guys anyway. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I do have a newsletter. If you want to get more insight into all what I'm doing, check that out. Link to that will be in the description. And I'll see you in the next one.